Active FM. Radio has never been better.
What is up?
Hey, how's it going?
This is the movie show.
On your favorite ORSPS.
I'm Sash.
My name's Ryan.
And we are doing, did you realize it, Ryan? We are doing a film review for a film that is 10 years old.
Yep.
So we are going back 10
That's
years
right.
to see, compared to what's being made nowadays, what were they making 10 years ago?
Yeah.
And it was completely coincidental. I swear, we chose the movie, we watched the movie. I was then doing research and then I typed in the year. I was like, oh wow, it was 2013 and now we're in 2023. Yeah. So this film was made a whole 10 years ago. It is a film called Locke. And the best way to describe this film is you watch one actor driving in a car for 80 minutes on phone calls.
And
Done. That is the film. And this has been the movie show from no joking. So yes, it's a very interesting film because of the fact that it's literally just one man. Like literally one man. The only exception is when he gets in the car in the beginning of the film.
and at the end,
It ends with the car driving off.
Well, he's still out. Yeah. I knew it was the end because the camera left him.
Yeah, yes, yeah. So it was made in 2013. It's a 1 hour and 25-minute film. And it's considered a drama, which, yes, I agree, thriller. Which I was actually like, when I did research, I was like, oh, it actually is a thriller. I didn't actually click. Because it actually really does technically have you on the edge of your seat, shockingly enough. The fact that this film works is actually amazing.
Yeah.
I'm guessing you didn't enjoy it, right?
It keeps you in. So concept was brilliant. Really loved it, but I hated the ending.
Yeah, the ending I also, because they left it hanging.
Like it ended and you're like,
What happened? No, that can't be it. What? But I think I understand now why it ended the way it did, right? I didn't before doing research. And then after, so I watched the film. And while I was watching the film, I was like, this is actually very good. The fact that I'm captivated and wanting to watch this is actually pretty good. And then when it ended, I didn't really like the ending. And then I was like, but then doing research, I was actually like, you know what? This film is incredible. Not just the film in itself, but like everything behind the film and all of that. So just to get into all of that wonderful stuff. So it is directed by a man named Stephen Knight.
where do we know him from?
This man is around, man, because he doesn't just do one thing. So he's a writer, he's a producer, and he's a director.
So have we seen him before?
So I know, okay, I'm going to name the films he directed. There's only 4. So he's only directed 4 films. That is Locke, Serenity, which I haven't watched, but that's with Matthew McConaughey and Anne Hathaway. Wow, those
Lots
two
of
surnames
haze.
are the same.
Lots of haze, hey? Yeah.
Which I would personally actually be interested in watching, just out of, because I enjoy those 2 actors, and also I do think the fact that he pulled this off, he's a good director. Then there's another film called Redemption with Jason Statham. Why does that ring a bell? I don't know.
What is it called?
Redemption. And then he did a TV series called The Detectives. So those are the 4 things that he's directed. However, the stuff that he's been involved in, whether it be writing, producing, or whatever, he was involved in the series Peaky Blinders. I don't know if you've ever heard of Peaky Blinders, Ryan.
No, I never watched it.
Then he was involved in another series called Taboo, which is actually Tom Hardy. There's a fact where basically the reason Tom Hardy agreed to do this film with him was because he wanted Steven to write and be a part of his series Taboo. So that's why he was a part of that. Then Great Expectations, that's 2023 though. There's a film called Allied with Brad Pitt. Don't know if you've ever watched it. There's Spencer, which was a biography or a biopic of Princess Diana. C, the series C. Burnt. He was involved in Burnt. Do you remember Burnt?
Yes.
Burnt, you remember? There's
When
one.
you say involved, is that like directing or producing or?
Probably producing, not directing.
Yeah.
He's only got 4 directing credits. Then Amazing Grace. He's the World War Z 2's on the list here. So he's literally, if you look at his filmography, and that's not even all the films, like he's involved in a lot of stuff. But this film was actually a challenge to him. And I actually think what he did with it was really, really cool.
Yeah.
Like yeah. And then, so also, just to mention this, it's weird actually that this film, like the fact that I'd only heard about it, because I literally heard about this film this year, which is a whole 10 years
How
later.
did you come across it though?
So I was speaking with friends and they asked me, we were talking about movies and they said, have you watched Locke? And I was like, no, what's that? And they were like, it's literally about a guy, Tom Hardy, he sits in the front seat of his car and that's the whole movie. And I was like, what? And then that's what sparked my interest. So I heard about it via friends, so people who had watched it,
Right?
but I'd never heard of it before. But it had 33 nominations for awards and it won 7 awards, which is
That's actually.
it's pretty good. Yeah.
I think what makes the film so good is challenging. It's not challenging in a point of how do you shoot it.
No, it was.
It's
Wait, we'll get there. Carry on.
But I think how do you keep a person glued to the screen for that amount of time with just this one action happening? Because I mean, I remember you told me the idea around the film. Then when I started watching the film, I was like, okay, cool, don't know what to expect. Here we go. And then I remember when he's driving, and then the phone call, so I was like, oh wait, we're gonna be. And then I was like, okay. But then all the stuff that was happening, I was like, yeah.
This film shouldn't work. It actually shouldn't work. In theory, it doesn't make any sense.
Like I was looking forward to see Tom Holland. You know, you're like, yeah, we're gonna see Tom Holland. It's gonna be great. When I heard the voice, I was like, that's Tom Holland.
No, this is okay. I didn't search the cast. The only person I knew that was in it was Tom Hardy, right?
Tom Hardy, yeah.
So basically, this whole film was an experiment. Stephen Knight's got the idea to think, can we do an entire film by filming just one actor in front of, behind the wheel in a car? And so he decided, well, let me try it. Let's see if it works. And he also, the idea was what can be shot in the shortest space of time with a talented group of actors. And that's literally what they did with this film. So the whole movie is actually about an ordinary person. That's the aim. So the protagonist is just this ordinary dude, someone you wouldn't normally make a film about. Like that's literally the main character, and you then see the heroism within him. And so this is the crazy part about the shooting, the production. Are you ready, Ryan?
Yeah.
So the movie had an unconventional shooting schedule. Tom Hardy filmed his part in 6 days.
Yep.
Shooting the movie twice per night, as it was filmed in a single take.
That was good.
And then the other actors all were sitting in a hotel room speaking on the phone with Hardy. So that was all real time. They were actually phoning him, who was on location. And the film shot during the course of six nights with 3 cameras rolling.
Yeah.
That is insane. They literally had a 6-day shoot. Like, what movie have you heard as a 6-day? Do you understand what I'm saying?
And how well did they do? How much did they make?
I actually didn't look
Is
at
it?
I didn't, yeah. But like, that's the crazy part. And then this blew my mind. This actually blew my mind. Tom Hardy, the whole time, was reading his lines from auto cue. He didn't know his lines. He literally I watched an interview where he admitted that he was literally reading his lines. He actually said that he's never done a film before where he didn't know what he was doing. Like, everything about this film was like complete, like, spur of the moment and like reaction, and it really, the whole thing really was a like an experiment. And what was cool about this was Tom Hardy even said this: you're not watching a film, you're actually watching someone's life fall apart in a space of 80 minutes.
All in a car.
Yeah, all in a car. Like, that's literally what you're watching. But this is what I thought was really cool. So the other actors were in the hotel room from 9 p.m. to 4 a.m. So they'd literally stay sitting up, because that's how long the trip was. So they'd stay up, and then they'd obviously be calling him. And Tom Hardy, if you watch him in the film, you can actually see as the drive goes on, he starts looking more and more exhausted. He gets like dark patches under his eyes, and that's actually because he really was driving for that long. You know, so like he was really going through what like Ivan Locke would have actually really been going through. But for me, this was what the cool part was. So like I said, I didn't search the cast beforehand, or I might have, but I didn't remember. Like I knew Tom Hardy was in it, and with the the other characters, because you only see Tom Hardy's character, you only see Ivan Locke, you don't see any of the other characters. You don't see his 2 sons, his wife, the chick that's giving birth to his child, his boss, he's the guy that works for him. You literally don't see anyone else. So as an audience, you are actually requested to use your imagination.
Right.
Which you don't normally do in films.
No.
I know in books you do that. So like I know when I read a book, you the whole time you obviously are requested to use your imagination. But with films you don't normally have to use your imagination because they're going to show you everything. The most you'd have to use your imagination is like off screen. You know how like something happens off screen but you don't see it, but obviously the actor reacts to it or whatever.
Yeah.
But with this you really had to use your imagination. And like I didn't recognize Tom Holland's voice. I actually didn't recognize his voice. No. Afterwards I was like, oh flip. And even the guy that acted as Donald, I know that actor because he was the antagonist in the Sherlock Holmes series. I know him. He freaked me out. He played Moriarty.
Yeah.
I didn't recognize his voice. I literally didn't recognize anyone's voice. And I even think the one of the actors was in The Crown. Yes, Olivia Colman. She played the Queen in season 3 and 4 of The Crown. Didn't recognize her. Like I literally didn't recognize anyone's voice. But I think it was because I was using my own imagination to think up the wife and so I was seeing the characters in my own way. Do you understand? Like it was my imagination that kind of like tricked me out of not recognizing the other actors' voices, which I thought was really, really cool. So I really enjoyed that. And also it's something different for a film because you don't normally have to use your imagination when it comes to film. So it was, for me, it was very good storytelling. It was drama to the 10th, or the nth degree, should I say. And it wasn't boring. I can honestly say it was not boring.
Yeah.
I think at first you kind of like, when you realize, wait, the camera's not leaving the car, you're like, I think everyone's like, But like by the end of the film, you were fully into it. I think the only thing for us was we didn't like the ending.
I think I'm kind of glad that I knew that it's going to take part because I don't know how many people. I'm sure for any ordinary people who were expecting some sort of action, because I think that's where I was kind of let down about the film was that you were hoping to at least see the building site or at least see
the baby.
him
not the baby.
fix things with his wife.
I wanted him to fix things with his wife.
Same. Like at least something.
Yeah.
But then you just left it there, and you had to like think about it. Okay, the building site was sorted because that's the last.
But he still
phone
lost
call.
his job.
Yeah. Well, we didn't really care, but I didn't care about that. I was just the building site, all the stuff that was at stake. So basically, exactly what he said. He said, when I got in this car, I had a job, I had a wife, family with a kid, and now I don't have either.
Any,
Yeah, and especially because also I can't imagine a wife just saying no, don't come here, and then that's it, the end. You know what I mean? At least something's got to, a couple days later, okay, fine, let's talk about it. I realized, I clicked, okay, we need, you naughty OQ, but, you've got a son and, you know what I'm saying? Like at least something.
Yeah.
But it's nothing.
I think it once again pulls on maybe the audience's imagination. Like it almost leaves it up to the person to be like, you know what? They did make right.
But there's no happy ending.
No, there isn't a happy ending.
It leaves you in that intense, at least when there's a happy ending to a film.
You're like, there's relief.
It changes your mood and you leave it with that feeling. But with this, it just left you there.
I think that's exactly why Tom Hardy, because he described it as this isn't a film. You're just watching a man's life fall apart for 80 minutes. Like I think that's why he describes it as that as well, because it really is like that. Like there's no happy ending. It was the fact that this thing, it really was an experiment and it worked. That's the crazy part. That's what gets me. I'm like, oh my goodness, because even the filming schedule, like you can see, they didn't really it wasn't. I'd say the biggest budget probably would have been like the cameras, maybe the car, but I mean, they could have used one of the crew's cars, fuel maybe, and then paying the actors, and then, otherwise, because they filmed at night, they didn't film, obviously, because he was driving through night. So, So just to give you some quick trivia fact. So this film, Tom Hardy plays a man traveling from Birmingham to London. So that's where he's going, Birmingham to London, which I think took him, 8 hours?
Well, we don't know because we didn't see him arrive. So
Yeah. But yeah. And then, so he drives a BMW, and apparently the BMW used in the film is installed with a low fuel warning sound or alert, and it would make a noise whenever the car was running out of petrol. And the noise actually would disrupt Tom Hardy's performance, but director Steven kept the actor's frustrated reactions in the movie and substituted the car's noise with "You have a call waiting" instead. And that, I don't know if you picked it up, right? Every time it was like, "You have a call waiting," he never picked it up. And I was always like, why is he not picking it up?
Yeah.
But it's because they were just substituting the car, the fuel alert sound with, which I thought was quite clever, because obviously it wouldn't make any sense if the car was saying low fuel and then he was like, "I'm 2 hours away," and then low fuel. Yeah, because they never ever obviously show him stop at a petrol station.
yeah.
And then Tom Hardy's acting was insane. Honestly, it was one of his best performances. For me, I'm always impressed when an actor can act completely ordinary. Like, I don't know if you remember 13 Lives, the guys, Colin Farrell and all of the guys, Viggo Mortensen, what got me was they were acting like normal, everyday, ordinary dudes. Like, they weren't acting like, the hero, the superhero, the villain. They were acting as like, just like me and you right now. Like, the fact that he did that. And then also he's cold. So obviously Ivan Locke throughout the film has a cold. He blows his nose, he takes medication, all of that. But apparently that was written into the script because actor Tom Hardy had a cold during production.
Oh, okay.
How clever is that?
So that at least took it helped because they were shooting and they did the whole movie in one kind of take.
Yeah, like a single take. Then
that's
it wasn't
brilliant.
like, "Cut, I need to blow my nose."
Hang on. Okay.
Okay, action.
Continuity. We need to go back.
So, and then on top of that, so to spice things up and to keep Tom Hardy on his toes, and I think this is also the cool part, is like Tom Hardy really was challenged with like his acting in this, because first of all, he said he didn't know his lines, so he was doing the whole auto cue thing. But on top of that, the director would tell things to the actors on the phone while they were busy shooting the scenes that Tom Hardy didn't know. So for example, for some takes, he would tell Ruth Wilson, who plays the wife Katrina, Katrina, that was her name, to play her character like she wanted to kick Ivan out of the house for a while, and now she's finally had the opportunity, which would obviously give her a very like almost harsh response, or like a very like harsh and
Well,
like,
she says I remember one line. She said, "Now to come to think about it, you've always just been about your buildings."
Yeah.
So it's been for a while now. It's been like this.
and then the cement's on the floor, how he always walks the cementing on the
Yeah.
kitchen floor, and she was hectic, man. I was like, "No, man, give him a chance. What's wrong with you?"
I'm like the poor son,
Yeah.
because he's like all excited about his dad and.
Yeah. And then also Tom Hardy actually requested, so he made 2 requests when he accepted the role. Obviously, he said to Stephen Knight that he wanted him to be involved with his miniseries, but also he said, number 1, that he wanted the character to have a chunky jumper and to keep his beard. And the reason for that was because both things reminded Tom Hardy of the ship, a captain of a ship, and he felt like Locke was steering his way through a storm, and so that's why he kind of like wanted that whole look. And also like he's got like, this film was actually brilliant. Like, he literally just wore one thing, and it was really good. Also, the reason Stephen Knight chose Tom Hardy was because he thought he was the only actor that audiences would almost, he was the only actor that could sustain audiences watching one actor in a car for 80 minutes. So in other words, he was the only man that Stephen trusted to capture the audience's attention for 80 minutes, which he did do, which I think he did a phenomenal job. And then his accents. So Tom Hardy, honestly, one of the best things is his accents.
I loved his accent.
So apparently he did a Welsh accent, but then this is the funny part. So he has a friend, and his friend is Welsh, and he was like, you know what, I'm gonna base my accent off of that man. So he's my inspiration for my accent. So he does the whole film, only to realize afterwards that the guy that he based his accent on isn't Welsh.
Oh, okay.
So he literally in interviews,
I wonder what it was.
Literally in interviews, he was saying, so one lady asked him, how are people like reacting to the film? And he was like, people are saying that I've done a really bad interpretation of a Welsh accent. And I have, because the accent I based it off of was not a Welsh accent. So like, I apologize. But I actually think it's quite funny that he did that. But the man that he based his accent off of was not.
It actually
from
reminded
Wales.
me of more of an Irish accent.
Yeah.
You know, who was the previous James Bond?
Not Daniel Craig.
No, the one before.
Not Piers Morgan, right?
It's Piers Morgan. Now, Piers Morgan, I believe, is more from sort of North, sort of English. And I was watching an interview with him, and the way that he spoke reminded me of the way this guy.
Oh, serious?
Yeah. In fact, there was one interview that he did with Jimmy Kimmel, and he did a painting, and this was the specific line that reminded me of the way that in this movie, he did a painting, and he brought it out, and he's like, "This is for you," and he's like, "This is for me," and he repeated exact, "This is for you," but exact like there's
Yes.
just this weird sort of way that he talks. That
Yeah.
the way this guy, like, he ends everything up with a
Yeah, an
you know, it's
accent
like,
in a
and
way.
I'm driving.
Yes, okay,
So
yes,
it's very,
yes.
yeah.
But also, what Tom Hardy said was the reason they specifically chose this accent was they wanted to represent like a working man, and they said that I'm South African, so I cannot comment on the men of the UK, but he was saying that like a lot of good hard working men come out of Wales, and even though they've got a very like soft, gentle nature, because if you listen to the way he speaks, he's very gentle. Like there are the moments where he got like angry and stuff, but he was often very calm. Yeah.
That was more him venting.
Yes.
Because he
and
would
more to himself.
You would have to.
Yeah.
He kept everything under pressure.
Yes.
Like, not under pressure, but under pressure, he kept everything together.
So like even like with his wife,
he
with
handled
Bethany, with Donald, with all of them, he had this like soothing tone, and he said he wanted that. He wanted it that when he spoke, there was almost like the soothing tone to his voice, and which he did do very, very well.
As if he's handling it. Yeah. What gave this film what made it more of an intensity to me is how he had to switch emotional roles.
Yes.
Because I'm sure for a lot of you've maybe had a emotional moment, whether it's like a fight with someone, and then you've had to immediately like sort of go into sort of like professional mode or something. Like let's say you just got off the phone, like an intense emotional conversation, and then you've had to like I think the best example is go back to work and sort of face like a challenge with your colleague, and you've had to literally just shove that emotion and then come back to it later. Like that, I literally felt like he was changing those, and you could feel the intensity between switching between all of them, and none of them knew what else was going on.
Yes.
He didn't ever say like, "Listen, dude, you need to do this because I'm busy losing my wife, and the woman, and there's an umbilical cord, but I wrapped it up, and on top of it, so we need the cement. Can you run down? Can you go get it?" So it like, you really felt how he was just really holding stuff together. Yeah.
So during the during the drive to London, this is the stats. So you ready for the stats? There were 36 phone calls that took place in this film.
Great.
13 outgoing, so he phoned 13 people.
I was wondering about his cell phone bill, yeah.
21 incoming, 1 ignored call, and 1 went to voicemail. And at least half the calls ended with Ivan either being hung up on or Ivan hanging up on a caller.
I'm driving.
So those are the driving stats for this film.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think what I liked about the film was it was just a very like real depiction of like someone in crisis. And like even Tom Hardy said when he was asked like how have people been responding to the film, like some guys said it's too close to home. Like literally, like people were, and then other people were like, so did they get back together? Did the wife get like what? Like people were. It was like I think it's people can relate to this. Like you said, you can relate to it because you're watching someone, and even though maybe you haven't been in his exact situation, it's that whole thing of you have to face something with family and then immediately like push it down and like get onto your
Switch to
your
another
professional and then put and like even what I thought was very clever was when they did the sequences where he's talking to his dad. Now his dad is dead, and his dad was a messed up dude that like abandoned him as a kid, and so he basically doesn't want to repeat the mistakes of his father, which is what drives him forward. Actually, in the film, it's his driving point. But his dad's dead, but he talks. So he sees his dad sitting at the back of the car. Not that you literally don't see the dad. At first, you're like, what is he looking at?
I was like, that's really strong cough medicine.
Yeah.
Because it only happens after that.
And then he like speaks to his dad, and that's when he really like vents, and you can understand, okay, this is why he's making the decisions that he's making. Yeah. And the whole film is about a guy who messes up and has an affair once. And you know, some people were like, nope, this dude is trash, or this dude is, but like other people were like, you know, with his job, he wouldn't even even when he'd been fired, he wasn't prepared for the job to like fall to smithereens. So he like still fixed it. You could see by the way that his kids responded to him that he really was a good dad. And even when, sorry, her name wasn't Bethany, her name was Bethan. But even when she said, "Do you love me?" he wasn't prepared to just say yes just to get out of it. Like, so,
he was very honest.
He was very honest.
He was quite straight up honest.
He wasn't prepared to admit to feelings he didn't have just to get out. And I think I was watching a review, and the guy said this, which I thought was very, very good. He said that the moral of this film is actually that this guy, Ivan Locke, was prepared to suffer under truth rather than prosper under a lie.
Yeah.
And I thought there was a very good description, because that's exactly what the film is about. In the beginning of the film, you see he has to make a decision. You don't know you don't know why he's making a decision, or afterwards you obviously click, oh, okay. But he has to make a decision there. Do I drive home and just act as if this never, ever, ever happened? Or do I go to the hospital and, you know, be there for this child that I caused and might lose my job, lose my family, but do the right thing? And he obviously, he chooses truth.
Yeah.
Even though he probably should have chosen it like that, or like when he got home, like his life probably would have turned out to be a lot better. But, you know, in that moment, he had to choose between suffering under the truth or prospering under a lie. And he chose the truth. Yeah.
I guess I can ask all our viewers or our listeners, what would you have done?
What would you have done? Hectic. Your life changes in 80 minutes.
I think I would have gone home. Not ignoring the woman. I would have gone home and just laid it out with my wife, what's happening. And then we would have together tried to help the woman. I'm sure that would have worked out better.
Together.
Because the wife was kind of still with him. She was just trying to and then when she realized that he's still working, it's like, what? You telling me you're still pouring concrete? And then
that's when I suppose, shame. You have to see the wife's side as well.
Yeah.
And then the wife even says, because he's like, it was once, and then she said the difference between once and never is huge. It's everything basically.
Yeah.
So, which I also agree with. I do agree with that. Like, you can't just say, oh no, it was just once, because that doesn't.
Yeah, people should watch this film and
they really should.
And if you're married and if you have that temptation in that moment,
watch this film.
Just think back to this film and be like, I don't want to be stuck in a car for 80 minutes and
driving to.
And there I lose my job and no.
Now, moral of the story is be honest straight up.
That's it.
From the get go.
Lay the block and go home.
Because she even flipped when she's like, you came home and you were smiling. You were smiling.
Yeah. You thought you were such a champion.
Yeah.
He's like, I was trying to act normal. Like nothing was wrong.
But why would you? Don't do that. Don't do that, people. Yeah. But a very good film. Very good film. For the fact, I think for me, the storyline, like you said, it ends in a way that's like, ugh. But the fact that this film worked, like the concept and the days that they took to shoot it, and the fact that it's one character that you see on screen, it really worked.
Yeah, absolutely.
You basically drove in a car with someone for 80 minutes silently watching them. Yeah.
That's what we did.
Yeah. So this has been The Movie Show.
Here on Active FM.
Until next week.
Cheerio.
Peace.